Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new movie, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Say that 10 times fast, that's a real tongue twister. So this movie had a stacked cast, everyone from Henry Cavill to Alan Richardson, who's obviously best known for his role on the Amazon Prime original series Reacher. Henry Cavill, of course, known for many roles over the years, but he's probably his most notable role is probably his his take on the Man of Steel or Superman. We had Isa Gonzalez, Alex Pettyfer, Babs, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that last name, and of course Carrie Elwes, Hero Tiffin, and so many other great actors and whatnot in this movie. And so essentially this movie at its core is really just about this misfit group of outcasts of people really who are in the military, who are really good. They're very tactical, very strategic, and really good at what they do. You know, they're basically professional killers, trained killers, but not in the hitman sense, more in the military sense. They're kind of like a special ops type thing, and they all specialize in their own little division. And so that in a nutshell is what this movie is at its core. It's about this group of different special ops type military men who come together to basically have to do this specific mission that I believe it was the British, so the minister of or the prime minister of, I think it was Britain, I believe it is, the British Prime Minister puts this team together during the time of World War II when they're fighting the Nazis and having to try to fight against Adolf Hitler and all that kind of stuff. Now in terms of the team itself, Henry Cavill, Alan Richardson, and all these people who these actors who portrayed their characters, it was absolutely hilarious. All their chemistry on screen was absolutely perfect. They played off of each other very well, which I was not surprised about because Alan Richards and Henry Cavill, all these names are really great. So in terms of the casting and the leads, I really thought that they did a phenomenal job, and they were just so funny. It put me in mind of another, I believe it was an Apple Plus series that came out last year, but I have in a moment now, I can't quite remember what it was called, but it's the same idea where there was this group of independent sort of military men that were special ops who were very specialized in certain things, come together to have to fulfill this mission. Now in the case of this movie, this team ends up coming together, but once they come together, then the Prime Minister actually ends up sort of putting a stop to the mission. But these folks, being who they are, sort of these outlandish, kind of aggressive, don't really care about what the Prime Minister says as long as the job gets done. They just want to help, and serve their country. And so they kind of just neglect the Prime Minister, telling them, you need to back off, don't go through with this mission. And they're just kind of like, well, we're just going to kind of do it anyway and just pretend we didn't get the order, so to speak. It's sort of like that in that general senses, and that is exactly what this movie is about. And it's about them trying to do this whole, this crazy mission in behind enemy lines, and basically they have to steal something while also trying to rescue a certain individual. And it was just so funny, and the action was just non-stop, pedal to the metal. It's kind of crazy to think that this is inspired by true events. During the credits at the end of the movie, they do show the real life people with the pictures. They put the pictures on the screen, and it's just kind of crazy, to think that only a handful of soldiers were able to go in and do this. Alan Richardson's character I thought was just absolutely hilarious. He portrays a character known as Anders Layson, well, character in the sense of in this movie. I know they're inspired by real people, but he portrays this character who specializes with a bow and arrow, and every scene that he was in, I absolutely loved it. He was brutal, but he was very tactical. He was very hands-on. Don't get me wrong, he used weapons and used guns and whatnot during the missions and in the movie, but he's really known for his stealth and his brutal hand-to-hand tactics and his skill with the bow and arrow. And I just thought it was really cool to see that type of scenario during the World War II, when you have all these Nazis over here with machine guns and all this technology. Well, I guess the technology was relatively new back then, but you know what I mean. They were all, fighting in this war using these, heavy-duty machine guns and whatnot. And here's, Richardson's character coming in with the bow and arrow and just picking people off, as good or better than what, some of the snipers were doing. So it's just really cool. It was really cool to see that. And Alan Richardson is such a big dude. Even in real life, he's massive. So it was really cool to see him going in. His hand-to-hand combat with a knife was phenomenal. It was really cool to see that. And Henry Cavill's character, he was hilarious. I did think in terms of the story itself, I did feel like the story was a little bit it wasn't really that compelling. You could tell that the story, this movie is about the characters more so than the mission or the story. So in terms of the, it's a very character driven movie, so in terms of the characters, I did love the characters, and I thought all the portrayals and performances and the casting was done perfect. But in terms of the story itself, I thought it was okay. It was nothing that you haven't seen before. It's just a typical movie of a group of guys that's going out to do this mission during the World War II era, but it was just their chemistry, their dynamic, and what they specialized in, their skills, which is what made this movie very entertaining. I would have no problem putting this movie somewhere at like maybe a 70%. I think 70% for me would be pretty fair. That's what I would give it. All these things are subjective. Maybe you've seen the movie and absolutely hated it. Maybe you've seen it and absolutely loved it. Maybe you think, I'm going a little bit too hard or maybe a little bit too soft with my rating. But like I said, these things are subjective. It is a movie. I oftentimes put a number on movies based on rewatch value. For me, I would watch this movie at least 2 more times. Like I'd watch it with family probably, and I'd probably watch it like with a friend or something. But it's not a movie that I would watch over and over every single year. If they do a sequel, I'd totally watch it. I'd see the sequel. It'd be cool to see what happened to these men later on in life. Did they keep working together? Did they keep doing these little special missions during the war? And all that kind of stuff. So I would definitely go back to see a sequel. Whether or not they do, I don't know. But overall, I thought it was great. And the action sequences, some of them are really, really good, and the comedy really lands most of the time. And it was just so cool to see this group of people come together who are so different, but all very talented in their own ways. But with that being said, folks, that's my review of the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button, and until the next one, take care.